Hello everyone, welcome to the spoiler talk for Thor Ragnarok, a movie that I did say in my review has kind of gone a little bit downhill, but not enough in order to really call this thing a bad movie, because it's still a great movie, even though it is not as perfect as initially thought when the movie came out. So then let's just get straight into the plot, because I really want to get into it. So we start this off by Thor allowing himself to be caught by Surtur because of the fact that he wants to know about the prophecy of Ragnarok, and Surtur basically tells him that he's gonna be the one to destroy everything. And also the fact that his crown, which he calls eyebrows, this is kind of where the whole comedy goes a little bit too far with the whole spinning around thing. It's like, I didn't really find that funny on this viewing specifically. But anyway, Thor needs to get the crown off of his head in order to be able to stop that from happening. And also, Surtur says that Odin's not on Asgard, which makes Thor go, wait a minute, but he is though. So Thor frees himself with Mjolnir, fights against Surtur and the minions, and then eventually escapes with the crown after almost being eaten by a big dragon. And we also made a new character known as Scourge, who apparently has taken up the job because Heimdall has been painted a traitor. However, he had to impress the women with his stuff, which that joke I actually did find funny. But Thor then, with the crown obviously, heads over to the main area, and he sees that Odin has a play about the end of Thor the Dark World. And then Thor basically is like, hey Odin, if I'm gonna put your head between my hammer and my hand so that when I get my hammer back, your hand will be crushed unless you reveal to everyone that you're Loki. And it's like, yep, Loki is still alive. What a shocking surprise to the 2 people that walked away. Actually, it was early in the MCU, so maybe the 30 people that walked away at the end of Thor the Dark World. And we get the revelation that Odin is on Earth, so Thor and Loki head over to Earth, where we also get the reveal that apparently Jane dumped Thor, which, sure, why not? To be honest, she's not really missed in this movie. I will say that. I very much enjoyed this movie, and I was never like, where's Jane? You know, her character was never really that much of an important character. Like, you could cut her out, it seems like, and it wouldn't really matter much. It's just a love interest, as you could say. So we are on Earth, however, then the building where Loki left Odin has been demolished. So then Loki gets taken by a strange portal, and then a note is there with an address on it. So Thor heads over there, and it's Doctor Strange. Yes, we are resolving the cameo from the post-credit scene of Doctor Strange. And then basically Thor is like, look, if you help me find Odin, I will take Loki and I will leave. It's like, okay, fine. So he searches for Odin, he finds Odin, and then he's like, here you go. Go and grab your dad. Oh, right, you want Loki. And Loki has always been falling for 30 minutes, obviously. But they head over and they have a little bit of a talk with Odin, and Odin is like, yeah, hey, by the way, you have a sister as well, and she is absolutely evil. And if I die, she's kind of gonna be ruining your day. So watch out for that. So Odin dies, and this was the moment in my review where I said that they let the emotion build instead of ruining it with a joke. Because when Odin dies, up until after Hela, it's like no joke at all. And I respect this movie for going that route. Because Odin dies, it's a sad moment, then Hela becomes free. Thor throws his hammer at her, and she breaks Mjolnir, killing it, kind of. And then Loki's like, bring us back to Asgard, which then obviously Hela follows. And Hela then kicks the 2 of them out to either kill them or strand them somewhere. And then she goes back to Asgard and instantly kills the warriors 2 out of the warriors 3, and she's going to take over Asgard. So Thor gets left on a garbage planet where there are these weird people who are like, food or fighters? Like, well, okay, food then. So they capture Thor, but then a scrapper comes by and kills everyone and also takes Thor, and she takes him to the Grand Master. Also, Hela kills the last of the warriors 3 and all of the guards of Asgard, which is like, okay, so there goes your army. Which this was the scene where I was like, really? You have to make a joke? Because she's like, I am Odin's firstborn and I am here to rule. And it's like, whoever you are. What do you mean whoever you are? I just told you. It's like, it didn't hit for me this time around. Like I said, there are jokes that hit in this movie and there are jokes that do not hit in this movie. That was not a joke that hit in the movie. It was another one of those like ruining tension with her joke kind of thing. So Thor learns that he is on Sakaar. He meets the Grandmaster, and also Loki has apparently been here for weeks because time works very differently here. However, he pretends that he doesn't know Thor at all. And then the Grandmaster wants him to become a contender for the contest of champions. champions. Also, the Grandmaster on this planet is millions of years old. So then Thor gets thrown with the other contenders and he meets Korg right there, who is a very fun character, but also can sometimes ruin things with jokes. But he is a fun character nonetheless. And also Meek, a very nice guy as well, who never speaks at all, but still, great guy. Also, Hela walks into the main area of the palace, I guess you could say, and then she sees all of these like murals about Thor and Odin, and she breaks them because apparently what he did was he painted over the truth, and that is the fact that behind it you have, in a way, if you really want to talk about it like that, you basically have Odin and Hela colonizing everywhere. That's basically just what they're doing, killing everyone, ruling the places in that sense. And that's basically the backstory as well. Odin and Hela went across the 9 realms fighting whoever stood in their way in order to rule it all. But then Odin decided to become king, and Hela, she got too powerful, so he banished her. So then Hela goes down into the vault and she's like, this Infinity Gauntlet is fake, and that's kind of weak. Tesseract's interesting, and ooh, the Eternal Flame. Let me get a wee bit of that, make a hole down, and just revive the dead, including Fenrir, the giant dog. So now she has a walking dead army, basically. And also, as Thor is ready to choose his weapon, he learns that Scrapper is actually a Valkyrie from Asgard. And he asks her for help, and she's like, no. And then Stanley cuts Thor's hair. Love Stanley, absolutely love Stanley, and this was a great performance by him. And he gets thrown into the ring, and the champion of Sakaar is actually Hulk, baby, yes. And Thor's like, he's a friend from work. And I actually like these jokes. I thought this part was actually pretty funny, where it was like, he's a friend from work. Hey, Loki, look who it is. So Loki's just like, I want to leave this planet immediately. It's Hulk again, no. And also when Hulk grabs Thor and smashes him around like Loki in the first Avengers movie, he's like, yeah, now you know how it feels. Thought that whole thing was funny. But Hulk is here basically to fight, so he fights against Thor, and right as Thor is about to win, the Grandmaster actually activates the shock collar that he's wearing, or like the shock thing that he's wearing, and he gets shocked and Thor wins the match. Also, Hela wants to go out and conquer. However, the sword, in order to be able to travel the 9 realms, is missing. Turns out Heimdall stole the sword, and he is also part of the resistance as well, which that one is kind of obvious, but still. Also, Thor's like, Hulk, I need your help, but Hulk will not leave, so Thor wants to leave on his own. However, he can't leave because of that thing on his neck. And also, we got to see a naked Hulk, which I just burned into my brain. I never want. I just. Why did you have to do that? It's like when Batman in like BVS Ultimate Edition. It's like, there's no need to show off his behind in the nude. Come on, dude. Not even an attractive woman. That would have been a different story. So Thor asks Heimdall in order to show him what has become of Asgard, and he actually does show Thor what has become of Asgard, and it's not good. And this makes Thor want to leave even more. And also, apparently, Hulk is friends with Valkyrie, which is very nice. And she doesn't really want to go back and help because of the fact that she lost everything to Hela, because apparently the Valkyries went up against Hela, and Hela killed all of the Valkyries. And the only way she was able to survive was by accident. And that is the fact that her friend kind of took the blade for her and landed next to her, so she would kind of blend it in with the pile of bodies, and that's the only way she was able to survive. So she's not going back. However, Thor steals the shock remote and he takes it off of him thanks to that thing, and then he decides to leave himself. But Hulk is not necessarily happy about that. So Thor gets to the Quinjet that brought Hulk here, and he's trying to make it activate with Point Break. However, Hulk kind of destroys the back of it, so that's a bit of a shame. And then a video of Natasha turns Hulk back into Banner, and Banner's like, what happened to Sokovia? It's like, dude, it's been 2 years. Alright, we're at the end of 2017, okay? Yeah, you've been the Hulk for about 2 years. And it's like, look, normally it always felt like Hulk and I had one hand each on the steering wheel, but now I was locked in the trunk, basically, while the Hulk was just driving. Also, because of this, Sakaar is now on high alert because the Grandmaster wants his champion back. Also, Loki and Valkyrie get called to the Grandmaster's office, and both of them are like, I'll get him faster than her. He's like, I'll get it in 12 hours. I'll do it in 2. I'll do it in 1. However, then Loki and Valkyrie have a little bit of a fight. Loki makes Valkyrie relive the Hela stuff, which is where we get to see what really happened. So Thor loses Banner in the crowd because a parade is happening in order to bring back the Hulk. And eventually they meet up again, and they meet with Valkyrie, who decides to officially be on board. And this is kind of the thing where I was a little bit iffy about with Valkyrie, because she was like, I'm not gonna help you. And then Loki making her relive her memory, she's like, okay, I'm gonna help. It's like, really? That's how easy that? Okay. But whatever, you know what? I'm not gonna complain about it too much. And she also has a peace offering because she captured Loki. Also, we are gonna be called the Revengers this time around because of the fact that we all want revenge. However, we need a way out, and it is through the Devil's Anus. That is the only way to escape, and we need a ship. So Loki's like, I know where the ships are, and I can get you a ship. However, we also need a bit of a distraction, so we free Korg and Meek in order for them to be able to do the revolution that they need to do. And then Thor and Loki head off to the ship area, where they have a little bit of a bonding moment, which is nice. And then Loki tries to betray Thor, but Thor expected it, so he shocks Loki, throws away the remote, grabs the Grandmaster ship, flies away, and then we got a pretty cool aerial battle as we try to escape. However, this is the Grandmaster ship for special times, so don't touch anything. Just keep your hands but maybe put on gloves, might be a little bit cleaner as well. But as we are escaping and taking out everyone, eventually the team makes it into the ship. And throughout this whole part of the movie, Banner and Valkyrie are like, I know you. Yeah, I know. Alright, this is weird that we know each other, but we don't know who we are because the fact he's not big and green. So we go through the Devil's Anus in order to escape. And also, Korg finds Loki, frees him, and is like, hey, we're gonna steal that ship and leave this place. You wanna come? It's like, wow, you people look like you are in desperate need of leadership. So I will lead you. Don't worry about it. So they leave as well. So Hela eventually learns the location of the sword. So she heads over there. And Thor goes back to the palace in order to lure Hela over there. While Heimdall takes the people back to the bridge in order to be able to escape that away. Problem is that doesn't necessarily work because Fenrir is there just waiting for them with an army of like undead people. So Hela returns to the palace and then we have a little bit of a talk. And then we fight. And we get the famous line. Are you the god of hammers or are you the god of thunder? He's the god of thunder. So he uses that in order to fight Hela, but it just doesn't work because as long as Asgard exists, as was foretold, Hela cannot be stopped. So then Banner offs himself on the bridge and turns into the Hulk and fights Fenrir, which is really cool. By the way, I forgot to say this, but while we were on Sakaar and while Banner was back, he was like, if I turn into Hulk again, I may never be able to be Banner again. And it's like, that's not true, as we learned with Infinity War. It's like, that's just not true. So that was also what I was talking about in the review. It's like, but that's just not true though. So it's like weird tension. It's like, oh no, if he turns back into Hulk, he'll never be Banner. But it's like, but Banner is in Infinity War. And he's in control of the Hulk now as well. Hulk is basically dead now. They killed off the Hulk in order to have like smart Hulk, as you could say. But like, that shit doesn't really... It's weird tension that this movie had that just doesn't really pay off. And I did not like that. But we did get a pretty cool fight between Hulk and Fenrir. I very much enjoyed that one. While Valkyrie tries to take on the undead, but then also Korg and Meek appear to help because Loki and the gang is here as well in order to fight against the undead, and they put up a pretty good fight. And also they have a big ship, so everyone gets into that ship. And then Thor has a plan in order to finish this once and for all, and that is to fulfill the prophecy of Ragnarok. We're gonna activate Ragnarok. Loki, you go into the vault, grab Surtur's crown, and put it into the eternal flame in order for Surtur to be able to destroy Asgard, because that is the only way we can stop Hela while Thor and Valkyrie fight against Hela. So they basically keep Hela distracted. Also, Scourge gets killed by Hela after putting up a heroic thing with a gun that has infinite bullets apparently, which that one I found a little bit weird, but whatever. It's like there's way too many bullets in that clip, okay? It just I know it's a movie, but still there are way too many bullets in there. I also like the Valkyrie costume that she has in this movie that she gets from Thor, actually, who found it. So Hulk eventually gets rid of Fenrir and Surtur is unleashed, which instantly draws Hela's entire intention away, because if Surtur does what he needs to do, Hela could die. So she goes over there to try and stop him, but doesn't necessarily work. Also, the Hulk jumps over to Surtur because big monster, but it's like, Hulk, no, please, let him destroy, because Asgard is not a place, it's a people, which I think actually another property that I've already talked about in the MCU has already kind of done that stuff, but I cannot for the life of me remember which property I was thinking of. But Surtur destroys Asgard and Hela while the people escape on the big ship. And where do we go now? King of Asgard, Thor says, to Earth eventually. Also, Meek is alive. Yay, great Meek. However, there is a little thing here that is kind of annoying, and that is the fact that when Surtur is just like destroying Asgard, Korg is like, well, the foundations are still there, so we can rebuild. I don't have a problem with that one. But once Asgard blows up, Korg is like, well, now we can't. It's like, now you had to be silent, okay? Now you shouldn't have said anything. The first one worked, the second one did not. I did not like that second one. But yeah, we're headed for Earth, baby. And then in the mid-credit scene, we are approached by a ship that looks very familiar to the Guardians of the Galaxy viewers. And yes, it is Thanos. He is here for the stone because while Loki was heading for the crown, he also saw the Tesseract. So he probably put the crown in, grabbed the Tesseract, and escaped. So Thanos is here because the next movie we're gonna be doing is actually Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's not the Infinity War. I almost confused myself, but after that, we're gonna do Infinity War. And then in the post-credit scene, we have the Grand Master who calls the revolution a tie. And that is the end of the movie. However, as I promised in my one-shot review, or well, spoiler talk anyway, I was also gonna go over the Team Daryl episode of the one-shot. So let's go over there. So apparently Thor left Daryl in order to do Thor Ragnarok, and Daryl is in LA for a new business opportunity apparently, and he's searching for a roommate, and he found Grandmaster living there as well. And the Grandmaster learns of Toast. Daryl becomes the Grandmaster's new assistant after I guess he lost the last assistant to that whole flying into a thing. And the Grandmaster also enjoys drawing Daryl, and he wants to rule Earth through YouTube videos. And music is not something that the Grandmaster is good at. And that's basically that one. There you go. That's the spoiler talk for that thing. I enjoyed it still, but there were better one-shots. But overall, I very much enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. I thought it was a really fun movie. Is it the best movie in the MCU? No. Is it like a 10 out of 10? No, but it's still really good. It holds up very well even after the cracks have been shown by Thor Love and Thunder. So let me know what you guys thought about Thor Ragnarok in the comment section down below. Spoiler filled, and also Team Daryl if you want to. And with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you did, please like button, subscribe if you're new, if you don't already, turn notifications, don't forget to check out the Let's Play channel, link in the description and at the end of the video. And I'll see you guys next week for a couple of runaways. Bye!